Hello, Sociology. This is the beginning of week 3. A few things, kind of to start things off. It's going to be a pretty short day today. We're just talking about one experiment that was done on social learning. And we'll ask some questions, and then that'll be today. So nice and easy. Let's see here. Sociology calendar. I've kind of mapped out what's going to happen for the rest. Oh, I don't want my head to be in the way. For the rest of the year. So here's what this looks like. This is kind of my best guess of what it's going to look like. That's assuming we don't come back to school. If we do, of course, it would change again. And I've also heard Mr. Morton say something about we might get off for Easter. I don't even really know what that means, but anyway, so kind of up for change. But this is a little bit what we are looking at. I'm switching these. So here's what the rest of the year looks like. Today we have the Bobo doll experiment, which is social learning and aggression, and we'll do that. Tomorrow, Lake Wobegon effect, which is kind of a little isolated fun thing in social psychology. Then we have language acquisition, Coco the gorilla, learning language with gorilla, and Jeannie Wiley, who was a feral human child. So a child who grew up, I think they found her when she was 13, and she was put in a room by herself with no social interaction at all. They fed her food to keep her alive, but that was it. So then the question then is, can she does, well, I don't want to step too much on it, but she obviously doesn't know English because she wasn't taught English, but can she learn it after then? Then we're going to take a quiz, which will obviously be open note because it can't really not be, over cognitive dissonance, as well as all these things that we've done, including the prisoner's dilemma. Then we're going to start our norms project. I'll talk about norms, then by norms, the kind of the unwritten rules of society. We're going to do a project where you break a norm, which works. It'll work just fine as is, but it'll be different. Everything's different. So you'll have to actually break a norm with people in your new environment, and then do a small thing about that. Survey project. We're still going to do a survey project. It's going to look different again, because ordinarily we'd print out 20 pieces of paper. You would give the pieces of paper to people, but hey, we're in 2020, so might as well do it digital, right? So you're going to be designing either a survey of the type of your choosing, like SurveyMonkey or something, or just use Google Forms, which is what I use for my quizzes anyway. You're going to choose a topic for the survey. You're going to give your survey to at least 20 people. I haven't quite decided how to do that, if it's going to be through email, or I'm not quite sure. Or you can use your own avenues of finding people and message them yourself. But it needs to be at least 20 people over a topic of your choice. We'll create first draft, we'll make corrections, second draft, and then we'll analyze the results of your survey. And then you'll present the results of your survey. And I don't even really know what presentation looks like in this new thing, but we'll figure it out. It'll be okay. Then we have the final and 3 days to review for the final. It'll look something like we'll go over half of the class the first day, go over the second half of the class the second day, then have a practice final, then we'll do the actual final. And that'll be whenever it is, mid-May, late May, somewhere in there. And that's the class. So today we are looking at a experiment in social learning. A guy named Bandura, who actually will be talking on the... I'm going to try... Most of the time, I will actually play the video like I did with the prisoner's dilemma videos. But I found that YouTube doesn't like that sometimes. They'll give copyright strikes, and one of these days, they're going to block my videos or even my channel. So I'm going to try and avoid doing that. I will give a link to the video, which you'll watch on your own, then come back here. It's a real short video. It's like 4 minutes long. So you'll watch that. I'm going to describe what happens in the video. It's this video. I'll have a link for that in Classroom, as well as probably in the description of this video itself. But let's talk about it on pain, because I like pain. So Bandura, what happened? Here we go. Had this experiment where he had kids in one of two different conditions. We call them condition 1. We'll call that violence. And condition 2, which, I don't know, let's call it peace. Nice. Children were watching adults play in one of these two. Draw a child. one of these two conditions. The child. We're watching in either 1 or 2. And here's an adult because they're bigger. And the adult was, I can't quite do that. Playing with a Bobo doll, they call it. Let's use an oval and red. That looks terrible. That's all right. So it's this little clown doll. Wing. And if it's the one with sand at the bottom, so if it's an inflatable doll with sand at the bottom, so if you punch it, then it'll go down but come back up. The Bobo doll. They call it Bobo doll. I don't know why, but they do. So in this instance, the adult was punching the doll, as you'll see in the video that you watch, punching the doll, was like pinning it down to the ground and punching it on the ground. And then in the second nice condition, the adult was playing nicely with the doll. Don't even really know what that means. I guess hugging the doll or just playing with the doll. Non-surprisingly, I guess, the children that witnessed the adult play violently, well, afterwards they let the child go into the room and play with the doll however they wanted after watching the adult. And you can kind of predict what would happen. The child that watched the adult play violently was violent, and the child that watched the adult play nice was nice. That's not too surprising. What's a little bit more interesting is they had some other things in the room, like they had a gun in the room, which the adult, here's my gun. The adult did not play with the gun, but when the child watched the adult play violently, the child would create new unseen violent activities with the doll. So in addition to punching the doll, which he watched the adult do, the child was also extremely more likely to pick up the gun and hit the doll with the gun, pretend to shoot the doll, things like that. Whereas in the nice condition, not only did the child mimic the adult's behavior, but also created new, unique, novel, nice activities to do with the doll. Which brings up a couple things. One would be that it's called associative learning or social learning, who Bandura was one of the leading researchers on that. But it just shows that we learn through passively watching other people. You learn through textbooks, but you also just learn through the modeling of other people. But second, there's a lot of research, and you've probably seen research too. There's research kind of both ways about violence in the media, and I'm not even saying, I'm not really making a position on that, but this would point towards, at least for children in this instance, violence influencing subsequent action. And you can make also, there's articles that say violence in video games does impact people's behavioral choices in the future, and there's literature that says that that's not really a real cause and effect type situation. But one of the other thoughts before this was that if you are able to get out aggressive urges, like if you watch someone punching a doll, maybe that'll make you less violent because you'll watch someone else do it and it'll kind of purge that from you. Or like if you're playing a violent video game like Grand Theft Auto and you watch in your video game, you see some violent actions, it would make you less likely to be violent. But at least in this experiment, that seems to be the opposite of true. So I'm going to just have you, we're at 9 minutes now. I'm going to have you watch that video. It's like a 4-minute video. And then after you watch that, we're just going to have a quick Google form assignment asking you some questions about the experiment, as well as make your own argument about the impact of violence in media and how that affects people's behaviors in society. So that's pretty much it for today. And yeah, you can look back at that little thing I have in this video to see what we'll be doing the rest of the year. So hope everything's doing well for you, and I'll see you Wednesday.